got your beverage.
Got my beverage. Yeah,
Nice.
let's do this. All right. Austin,
Jack, how are you?
welcome.
It's
Welcome back.
It's been a while.
It has been a long time.
It's good to be back.
How long has it been?
Oh, a year at least. I think it's been probably a year and a couple months
Oh, it's a long time.
since let me check when our last episode was released.
Yeah, your boy had a minor mental breakdown and had to take a break from life. But we're back at it with better equipment this time around.
And a better lease on life.
Yes. And I hope I know how to work this equipment, so hopefully it sounds fine. And bear with me while I learn how to use it. And Austin,
Yeah.
what are we talking about today? Hold on. What are we drinking today?
What are we drinking? We are drinking C4, my friend. Explosive, pre-workout, and now a beverage. Sport Plus Fitness Performance Energy Drink. This is Jolly Rancher watermelon flavor, which everybody knows. Second to Blue Raspberry is the best Jolly Rancher flavor.
Although it does not taste anything like watermelon to me.
Here's the thing. Watermelon literally tastes like nothing.
It does.
How do they get a watermelon flavor?
It's like, I don't even know how to describe it.
Watery melon.
Yeah, I guess it's just melon. Like you're chewing water that happens to. It's like the LaCroix of taste.
It is. It's the LaCroix of fruit.
But it is a good taste. I do like the taste. There's
Yeah.
just not enough of it.
Yeah. I also don't like that I feel like I took a bath after I eat like 3 slices because I'm
Right.
soaking wet. But
Yeah.
it is refreshing. Frozen watermelon is really good. Have you ever frozen
I have not.
slices of watermelon?
Oh.
That's good.
Do you like still chew
Kinda-
it? Or?
Yeah, it's kind of like a popsicle. You just kind of chew on it and melt it. And
I'll have to try that.
that is delicious.
Lindsay loves watermelon, and she'll just buy a whole thing, cube the whole thing, put it in a giant bowl, and then just snack on it like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, let's test these. Let's see.
Alright.
Can we get the noise and
Get
these
a good
fancy new
crack
mics
here.
Oh,
That was a fizzy. All right, let's see.
oh, it smells like it.
It does smell like a Jolly Rancher and chemicals.
It does have a very chemically.
I get where they're coming from with the watermelon Jolly Rancher flavor, but there's also like 2 other flavors in there that make it weird.
Ooh. I mean, yeah, it tastes like it tastes like if you soaked a watermelon Jolly Rancher in an energy drink.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what this is. So
It's okay. It's not my favorite. I'd give it like a 6 out of 10 probably. 6.5.
I think that's too high. I think you were correct with 6,
Yeah.
maybe 5.5.
It's okay.
It's not bad.
You know, it is a certified sport.
Certified?
I believe that means it's tested NSE certified, which means it's tested for banned substances, which is great for all the competitive exercise I'll be doing in the next few months. Not really, but yeah, I mean I'll drink it, but I wouldn't probably choose to drink it again.
Correct.
My thing with C4 is a supplement company. Supplements. They're pre-workout company, and I think they probably do protein and stuff too. But any time that I've drank a drink that has like vitamins or is made by a supplement company, it definitely tastes vitamin-y to me, and that's what this tastes like.
Oh, absolutely.
Vitamin-y Jolly Ranchers.
Okay, well, now that that's out of the way, what a great one to start it off with, huh?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What is the recent news of the world, Austin. You got us a story there?
There's some interesting news of the world. One of my favorite subjects is Egypt, ancient Egypt, as I'm sure many of our listeners enjoy as well. But in Egypt, some scientists from the University of Pisa in Italy recently used some special radar that's more of like a deep ground penetrating radar over the...
Sorry.
Penetrate?
No.
Ground?
Yeah.
Okay.
What? Yeah.
Why are you laughing?
It was penetrating.
Okay. I figured.
Sorry, continue.
So they've used this ground penetrating radar.
That was you that
Gosh.
time.
Over the pyramids and the royal graveyard and have found some crazy structures. It's 8 different pillars that kind of sit beneath the structures that are on the surface. And they go up to like 600 meters deep. And then below there are some chambers, kind of open areas that go down up to 2 meters total deep. And these 8 pillars also are said to have what looks like staircases or some kind of spiral structure going around the outside of them, which is very interesting because in Egyptian mythology...
Sorry.
Which is very interesting because in Egyptian mythology, we have what's called the Halls of Amenti, or even the Hall of Records, which are kind of 2 different things. But Hall of Records is basically where all the knowledge of the world was housed. Kind of like an ancient, well, I guess the Library of Alexandria is ancient, but kind of similar to that, where basically a knowledge center of that time period of the world. And then that's also been rumored to be under the Sphinx because they've done some ground radar there as well and seen some chambers under the Sphinx that they think could be the Hall of Records. But this new chamber they think could either be the Hall of Records or the Halls of Amenti, which in Egyptian culture mythology is the realm that a soul passes through on its way to the afterlife. And so it's this kind of developmental stage for the soul before it goes to the next stage of the afterlife, which is kind of creepy and freaky, but kind of cool too. And so, yeah, they've done preliminary radar scans, and that's kind of what they think is there, but they're having their information peer-reviewed currently. And a lot of the mainstream archaeological community has kind of kicked back on this and said, like, no way, we already know there's nothing under there, but have they used this new tech or anything like it? Because LiDAR is really good for surface scanning through, like, organic material, like wood or dirt, leaves of trees and stuff, and that's how they've been able to find all the stuff in the Amazon. But when there's a lot of rock, it's harder to like see down into the ground. So that's where these new radar technologies are able to see better through solid material and get deeper into the ground. So yeah, and the radar they used is up on a satellite in space, which makes it like way cooler.
That's
They're
crazy.
Shooting space radar down and doing it.
How could that possibly be better than doing it from Earth?
I don't know.
That's crazy.
I have no idea. Maybe they can get like a larger reference picture and then use data from like, I don't know, but
I do not understand a lot of things.
I don't either. Like we were talking recently about how like if we went back in time, we'd make 0 difference with the knowledge we have now.
Oh yeah.
Like if I went back 200 years and tried to explain to somebody like, this is a cell phone. What's a cell phone? Like, oh, it works with like a satellite. Well, what's a satellite? I don't know. Like, this is where my knowledge stops. You okay there?
This is bad.
It's really not. It's not that good.
I'm downgrading it to a 4.
The longer I drink it, the less I like it.
It's usually the other way around.
Yeah.
If I just keep sipping it, it just like kind of gets better and better.
It just like, I don't know. If I wanted some pre-workout, I would go take a pre-workout. Mm-hmm. If I wanted supplements with my candy, I would go eat Flintstones vitamins. And these are filling neither of those
kind of go
needs.
hard, though.
They do.
Like,
you know
dangerously. Like, I want to eat them like they're fruit snacks.
Like, I want to overdose on vitamins today.
Which you can apparently do.
Yeah, you can. But those are good. And then the Tums chewable, like, not the chalky ones, but like the soft, chewy ones.
I like them both, man.
They're so good. They're so good. And you know what else I miss? Hall's fruit breezers. Do you remember those? The cough drops that were like striped and they were
had,
candy flavors, like berries and cream.
Yeah, that's probably a good thing they don't do that.
Yeah. But I remember as a kid being like, oh yeah, this is a cough drop, but really it's just candy. Like, it was so freaking good.
We got way off track here.
We did. You could say we got off on a tangent.
Oh.
There it is.
Snuck it in there. So, why can't we just go and... can we not go underneath the pyramids? Is it... why
I don't know.
We just go see if this is true or not.
Maybe
I don't
they're...
understand that part.
See, I don't either, but it is under like the graveyard area too, so I wonder if they're like worried about digging it up and releasing the curse of Ramses or something. And then
it's probably, like, protected
yeah,
space.
I bet it's like a...
mess with it in any way.
Which makes sense. Like,
right.
But also I think it might be like a cultural or superstitious thing where maybe they don't want to dig up all the dead bodies and stuff.
Hey, that's probably safe.
Okay, you know what's crazy? They have never found a single mummy in the pyramids.
Are you serious?
Yeah, like I heard that like 2 days ago. They've not found a single mummy in there.
Where'd they find King Tut then?
They never found him, I don't think.
What?
But I heard that they've never pulled a mummy out of the Great Pyramid. They've never found one. Let's fact check that live, but...
Have there been any mummies found in the pyramids?
While the Egyptian pyramids were indeed built as tombs for pharaohs and other important individuals, finding complete mummies inside them is actually quite rare. Here's why. Ancient looting.
That didn't help at all.
Oh, let's see. No pharaohs have ever been found in the pyramid. That's what it was.
Oh.
But, like, they built the pyramids as the, like, tombs of the pharaohs, supposedly?
Yeah.
Sorry, I guess I was way off. But they've never found a
that's absolutely what
a pharaoh's mummy in the pyramid. Nope.
Huh. That's weird.
Yeah. Ancient Egypt is so creepy to me, but also so intriguing. That'd be, like, one of the time periods I'd go back to if I could, would be Ancient Egypt.
That
just
would
to
be
see
fun.
What all they were doing.
Dude,
like,
I remember learning about their gods in school, and that one, like, it was very interesting to me, like the sun god Ra, and like how they, I don't remember any of it, but it was really intriguing to me. I do remember that.
Yeah.
So it's very unique culture.
They're very much about the afterlife too. Like your soul continues on through the afterlife, and a lot like very ritualistic. And that to me is so interesting. Like, I don't know.
Did you know the Egyptians believed that our brain was for cooling blood?
Really?
Yeah. I might need to fact check it again.
I mean, it makes sense because, like, when you get hot, like when you get sweaty, you sweat probably the most from your head, and that's where I feel like heat the most. If I'm hot or cold, like when you're really working out and hot, you feel it in your head, and I don't know. I feel like that could be a wise assumption to think that.
I'm not. Let's see. Yes. Yeah, they considered it a useless organ. And it was removed before mummying. Mummifying?
Oh, I thought you were going to say, like, they removed them from young children or something. Because it was a useless organ. But
no, yeah, they would break the nose, and then they had like this hook that they'd go up in there and just yank out chunks of the brain.
That's gross.
Yeah, no, I'm dead. It's weird.
I've heard that before, but that's just weird. I wouldn't want to do that to somebody's body either. Like, can you imagine?
Yeah, that is weird.
Why were ancient cultures so obsessed with, like, a lot of them, like,
gore.
Death and gore? Yeah, like dismantling of the body after death, or like ritual sacrifices in a certain way, you know? What was the obsession with death, which we will get into in today's fine episode.
Speaking of which, it's kind of crazy that we got that maybe underground city pillars thing in there, but you know what's even crazier?
What?
Is the topic of today's episode. which is, well, I guess I don't know what it is specifically. Is it Gobekli Tepe or is it what's the
Tostapelor.
Tostapler?
I'd say Gobekli Tepe because that's the most wide. We'll name the episode that, but that's the initial one.
Yeah. So Gobekli Tepe is crazy.
I'm shocked that I had never heard about it until like just within the last, I don't know, 2 to 3 years. I'd never heard anything about it. Even doing the podcast, like we've talked about it a few times on the podcast. It's been like, oh, we'll talk about that at some point, but I never even heard about it until well after like we started doing the podcast.
Yeah, no, same. It's crazy. And for those of you who do not know what Gobekli Tepe is is a mysterious and monumental archaeological site in southeastern Turkey, dating back nearly 12,000 years to around 9500 BCE, making it the world's oldest known megalithic complex, predating Stonehenge by more than 6,000 years. Perched atop a hill, the site features massive T-shaped limestone pillars arranged in circular and oval enclosures, many of them intricately carved with images of wild animals and abstract symbols. So it's basically an ancient site. I don't want to say building, but it's not like a city. What do you call that, Austin?
An ancient, I'd say
site.
It's like an ancient, site or location. The purpose of it, we'll get into a little bit more, but I wouldn't go so far as to say it's like a settlement or a civilization, but it's the oldest known record of humans like having a permanent settlement.
Yeah. So what's crazy about this place is if you heard in the description, it's about 12,000 years old, and it's like a structure that is. We'll post it on our social media, so go look at that, or just Google Gobekli Tepe and take a look. It's like I'm thinking it's like a temple.
Yeah, that's often what it's described as, yeah.
It's, stone set up. There's these giant pillars that are, 18 feet tall, multiple tons and like they have carvings. You can very clearly see like animals and people, and it's why this is crazy is because this is well before the time we thought humans were able to even do this kind of stuff. According to our history and everything we have up to now, at this point, humans were still hunter-gatherers and haven't actually settled down into a place and learned how to farm or any of that stuff. It's pre-pottery era is what they call it.
Yeah.
So this is crazy that people were able to, make a temple of this magnitude. I'm going to call it a temple. We don't know if it's actually a temple, but we're going to call it a temple for simplicity's sake here. But that's just crazy. So how wrong do we have it?
Well, I think what's crazy is not only was it before like farming time, but it's like way before farming time. This is 6,000 years before ancient Sumeria, like the Fertile Crescent, Mesopotamia times, which is often credited as the period where permanent human civilization, like that shift from hunter-gatherer to agriculture happened, and humans really started settling permanently in locations. And so that's often seen as kind of like the birth of quote-unquote modern civilization, but kind of like modern humanity, and is really credited as the time when things started to advance more and more because of agriculture and because of settlement, and people had the ability to be in a place for a long time and plan cities out and plan farming and things like that, instead of always just being nomadic and living that subsistence lifestyle of chasing an animal around. They were permanent.
Yeah, and again, this is 6,000 years before Stonehenge, and Stonehenge was like, That's old. Mm-hmm. That's very old.
It's also so time difference between our lives and the pyramids is less than the time period from the pyramids to Gobekli Tepe
By a long shot.
by like 2,000 years, I think. And so maybe no 8,000 years, because from us to the pyramids they say is roughly 4,000 years, and from the pyramids to Gobekli Tepe is about 8,000 years.
Yeah, it's 11,500-ish years from now.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
I always tend to think of ancient civilizations as kind of like the same time. Like, when you imagine it, that time is so expansive. You just think like, oh yeah, the pyramids and Gobekli Tepe, like they just were all living at the same time. Like, that was just the Stone Age, that one tiny period of history when all of this happened. But it's so much more spread out than I thought. And yeah, I think that's the biggest thing with this is it is so baffling that it's double the time from what we thought before when humans started using tools and settling and stuff. So that time period, I think, is the most shocking. Well, one of the most shocking things about it.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about kind of the shape of it. So the structure is like, it's not just random. There's definitely a deliberate plan to it. And so, as you said, there's these kind of circular structures. I believe they've uncovered 4 of them. And those structures hold different pillars, and then within those pillars there are different sculptures as well. And these pillars are kind of T-shaped, so they have obviously the tall base, and then at the top they have a shape that juts out on 2 sides to make it look like a T. And so there's 4 of these circular structures with pillars kind of scattered around about 100,000 square feet of land. And you can look up a map, like if you just look up Göbekli Tepe site map, it'll show you kind of what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's definitely like an on purpose thing, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's definitely deliberate because they're all very similar in structure, and they all have kind of a chamber that leads into them, like a hallway type thing. But yeah, it is very deliberate, and that's what's interesting to me, because at that time, if they were as primitive as we think, you'd think they'd just throw up the whatever they could to live, instead of actually being able to have a planned out and like well-engineered civilization. Shows that they'd been settled for a long enough time to develop those skills.
All right. What do you think it was used for?
I don't know. I like the word temple because it just carries like more significance to it, I think.
Absolutely.
Rather than just like a living space. But the other thing is they haven't found right next to here. This isn't like a house spot. There's no houses there that they've found yet. And so it doesn't look like people lived on this site. It looks like it was more of a gathering place. So that would lead me to believe some kind of religious gathering place or ritualistic gathering place where they came and met, but they didn't live there.
Okay. So maybe like a sacrifice site or something.
Sure.
Which is one of the theories, kind of. What is it? The death cult?
The skull cult,
Skull
I think.
cult? I gotta find that.
Well, so a lot of the pillars there that have artwork will have a depiction of like a headless man. And so then they've also found what they think are like blood chambers there too.
Ooh.
In the rock, so that if they behead somebody, the blood can kind of flow in a certain way that they've dug out in these rocks. And so it does seem like they had some kind of ritual beheading or kind of fascination with that. And so that would make sense that they would come to this ritualistic site to do that.
Speaking of their depictions of photos and whatnot, Pillar 43. Is that what it is? 43?
Yeah, Pillar 43.
And the vulture stone, as it's known.
Look it up.
It's an interesting one. So yeah, if you just Google even just Pillar 43 will probably do it.
Yeah.
Images.
Pillar 43 or vulture stone.
So you can see that there's definitely like animals. So you can see a scorpion. That looks like a bird. More birds.
Yeah, it looks like there's a few different kinds of birds.
Snake? I don't know.
There's a snake. I saw that one of those animals is supposed to be an ibex, which I believe is like a deer. like a horned creature.
Okay.
And then there's, the ibex. It kind of looks like a bighorn sheep. They look freaking awesome.
Oh, that's cool.
But
So, what does Pillar 43 tell us? It looks like it depicts a disaster, is what people say, a comet impact that may have caused the Younger Dryas.
yeah,
We've talked about Younger Dryas a little bit, I think.
yes. So, the Younger Dryas was kind of a cold period at the tail end of the last ice age. The Earth was starting to warm up and had come out of like the main ice age. And then there was a comet, a super comet in the atmosphere around the Earth that was like 100 miles wide, that ended up breaking apart, and it caused this whole debris field that's still there. And a few of those fragments came down and impacted the Earth, which sent it into another cold period, like a mini ice age, that was about 1,000 years, and that was called the Younger Dryas. So the Younger Dryas impact theory or hypothesis is that these fragments impacted the Earth, maybe blocked out the sun, and caused a bunch of the like megafauna, plant life around the Earth to die. And so that is one of the theories as to why the people started to gather at that point, because they had to. Like, oh, we got to band together. We got to figure out a way to make this work because all the animals are dying and the Earth is freezing. So we have to build cities basically and band together. And that's kind of where they think farming came from, was we have to figure this out. And so they figured out farming and kind of long-term living to facilitate living throughout the tail end of this like cold period. And so that was, I believe, about 12 to 13,000 years ago that the Younger Dryas kind of ended.
So basically right before this.
Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, you're right. This stone is supposed to, in some theories, depict that. And so if we look at this, there's kind of a disc in the middle on the wings of the vulture, which is theorized to be the sun. And then these animals around the outside are supposed to be different constellations. So you've got the scorpion, which would be Scorpio. And then there is the ibex, which would be, I believe that's the duck is Libra, and the wolf is, one of them is supposed to be a wolf. I think it's on the other side of the stone is the Lupus constellation. And so it's theorized that these sculptures on here align with the stars in the sky at that point. So you can use this as basically an ancient star chart, which people have done. And so they've used computer simulations to map that star chart in the sky based off of the sun and the positioning of those animals to determine where those constellations were at what time period. And they've placed that about 12,000 to 13,000 years ago. So right before, about 1,000 years before Göbekli Tepe was settled is when this star chart is showing in the sky. And that would have mapped out in the timeline of when the Younger Dryas impact happened. And so these kind of handbag looking things at the top, those are theorized to be the comet meteor fragments coming out of the sky and impacting the Earth. The snake is said to be like tsunami waves. Like the slithering snake is said to be the waves of a tsunami coming over the Earth and that flood after the meteor impact. And then the headless man, that I believe who's on the other side. 'Cause some of the stuff is on the other side of the stone as well. But the headless man is said to be like either death, like the symbol of death, or like as a warning to people moving forward of that this could also be a prophecy of another meteor shower to come, because the meteors that came from this meteorite, we still pass through that debris field every year, the Taurid meteor shower. And this meteor, where they kind of come out when you see them in the sky, the origin or like the epicenter of the meteor shower is right in Pleiades, which is the shoulder of the Taurus constellation, the bull. And so that's why they call it the Taurid meteor shower. But we still see that every October through December or November, I think, is the meteor shower. And so like I've seen it, I've gone outside and watched it, and we pass through that every year. So it's also theorized like this could be telling the future people like, hey, look out, like we're going through a freaking asteroid field every year. Like just beware, because it happened in the past and it's going to happen again.
Crazy.
So yeah, that's basically what they theorized the stone was for, was kind of a star chart of this event that happened.
Oh, and then there's the lovely skull cult. Recent discoveries suggest the site was home to a skull cult. Human skulls found at Gobekli Tepe show signs of deliberate carving and modification, possibly displayed as trophies or venerated relics. This raises chilling questions about ancient ancestor worship, ritual decapitation, or even sacrifices to unknown gods or spirits. Do you think? I feel like that's fairly likely.
Yeah.
They're just finding the skulls. Did they not find the rest of the body?
I don't know. I know they have found a lot of skulls though, but I think it's likely. I mean, look at was it the Aztecs or the Mayans that were freaking brutal here too in America and did like ritualistic sacrifice? A lot of ancient cultures have sacrifice or some fascination with death. I feel like they all do because they understand more of that kind of godlike relationship. I think they're closer to God because they kind of have to be. But
they don't
yeah,
have the internet.
Yeah, but I think it's highly likely that they had something like that. But yeah, and then we'll get into it in a little bit, but they have found some skulls and bodies at other sites close to here as well.
Other sites, Austin?
Other sites.
Pray tell what you mean.
So, Gobekli Tepe was found in 1994, that's when they started kind of noticing it. In 1995 was when they started the excavations, but the locals knew that it was there since about the 60s, and in their language, Gobekli Tepe actually means potbelly hill. So it's kind of situated on this little hill. It's kind of round. There are a lot of different plateaus and stuff in the area, but this one was rounded on the top. And so this German archaeologist named Klaus Schmidt started excavating it in about 95 and was like, yeah, that looks man-made. Let's check it out. And so ever since then, they've been excavating it, and they've excavated probably 8% of what's there. So we still have a long, long way to go, and it goes deep down into the ground too. But in about 2007, another place was discovered called, I'm going to butcher this. It was 2008, Bonkuklu Tarla. So this is about 10 miles from Gobekli Tepe.
Bonkuklu Tarla?
Bonkuklu Tara.
That's a great
Tarla.
name.
Yeah, it is. I don't know what it means, if it's ancient language or if it's current Turkish. I don't know what it means. But they did find corpses there. And these corpses were all buried with, that they found over 100,000 beads that they were wearing. And these beads are like pretty intricate. And they've also found that Bonkuklu Tarla had its own sewer system. And so it seems that these guys had some crazy tech and like a division of labor. So they had pretty high level engineering and manufacturing to make beads for their corpses. And kind of like an artisanal type work, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense.
But then they also had their own sewer system, which shows the ability to plan out, like city planning and engineering, which is crazy that they had the ability to do that in that time. And then it shows that hundreds of thousands of people potentially lived there permanently, not only after but before the Younger Dryas as well. And then in 2019, they discovered a place called Karahan Tepe, and that one's about 40 miles, I think, kind of southeast of Gobekli Tepe. And there they found different tools and like grindstones to grind wheat. They found pottery and plates. They found vessels that contained traces of alcohol and other types of food in there. And they found some really cool buildings and stuff. But the biggest thing was tools. They were using obsidian tools. They even found some crudely made copper items as well, which 12,000 years ago, nobody in the world was smelting metal or melting it down.
Tools in general is like very, very new.
Mm-hmm.
We're not,
this is like right out of the Stone
Age,
you know?
That's Yeah, that's
And
crazy.
they still weren't smelting. They were kind of beating the copper, just like forming it, but they weren't melting it. But what they did have that was crazy was they found traces of this limestone cement called terrazzo, and it's supposed to be a waterproof material they make by melting limestone, and then it turns into kind of a powdery form that they use in their cement, and it creates a waterproof cement that they can use to repair or fill in gaps in the walls and stuff like that. So they've seen evidence of repairs that they've made using this terrazzo, but then they also made flooring and like roads with it too. And so the first civilization that was previously thought to have used this were the Romans, and they were just the early like late BCE and then early AD time period. So within the last 2,000 to 3,000 years, they're kind of the first civilization credited with building roads and using cement and stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
But these guys were using it about 12,000
That's crazy.
plus years ago. So yeah, that's pretty crazy because the limestone melts at like 850 degrees Celsius. So you would have to heat that up.
You have to have a
ton.
furnace.
I think it's like 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit is what it ends up being.
Jeez.
And so they had some kind of tech to like superheat this limestone to make this cement, which is pretty crazy. So then in 2021, the Turkish government came out and said that they've discovered 11 additional sites to Göbekli Tepe, all within 100 miles of each other. And so including Göbekli Tepe, there's currently 12. And they've named this kind of ancient city of all these sites. It's called Tas Tepler. And there's now reports that they found up to 35, but the official number that the government came out and said was that we found 12. Cyberch was another one that they discovered. And this one had it had permanent houses. It had like community halls and buildings where people would eat and gather, enough to seat up to 50 people in these buildings, intricate carvings of people and animals. So this appeared to be more of an actual permanent settlement.
And these are all within, what, 100 miles of each other?
Yeah, about 100 square miles. They're all kind of up on this plateau near Sanliurfa is the current city. But it's called the Sanliurfa Plain or the Sanliurfa Plateau, and they're all kind of scattered around there. And also, keep in mind, this is just to the north of the area where the Fertile Crescent and Mesopotamia was. So, like ancient Sumeria, that time period, where they believe civilization kind of started, was just north of here. This is just north of there, I mean. And so it's in the same region of where those ancient people came from as well. But yeah, all within 100 miles, and again, they found tools. They found some really crazy things to show that these people had advanced knowledge and advanced engineering. The other thing is that they had the planning and ability to, because these settlements were founded permanently there were people living in them for well over 1,000 years. And so the craziest thing to me is like they're building these things, not even seeing the end of it. Like the people that are building this
this takes a long time.
Yeah, it takes a really long time, and they're building it just like I'm not ever gonna see the end of this, but I'm just gonna start, and then all the generations just over time kept it going and built it all up.
Speaking of which, we've only excavated like 10% of Göbekli Tepe. Mm-hmm. Like, it's really tall.
And that's over 30 years. Yeah.
And that raises the question is that there is evidence that it was intentionally buried. This is not like covered over time with erosion. So why did they bury this massive structure? What were they hiding, Austin? What were they hiding from me? What's down there?
I don't know, but it is interesting that they buried it. I'm guessing by the way the dirt fills in, they can tell that it was buried.
Yeah,
because
it was something about. Let me find that real quick for you.
But yeah, I don't know, because you work so hard on this for 1,000 years to build it out of the bedrock too. That's crazy, because a lot of this is like that's some heavy stone, the bedrock that they're building a lot of this stuff out of. It's like they found the bedrock and went down into it to kind of carve it out. But
All right, I got you. Göbekli Tepe was buried due to a combination of factors, including the deliberate covering of structures with rubble and the natural formation of the site's mound. Archaeologists have evidence suggesting intentional burials, such as placement of rubble and non-natural stratigraphy of the fill. What is stratigraphy?
I'm guessing it's like how the material is placed throughout the dirt. Like, it's not a natural displacement of all of the sediment and stuff in there. We're using some big words
Yeah,
today.
I don't even know half these words, honestly. Anyway, we know it was buried. So, was it them who buried it? Or was it someone else? Why? It just doesn't make any sense. Why?
I mean, it could be if they were conquered by some other kind of civilization, maybe.
Still seems weird to bury it, though.
Yeah, I don't know. And also that deep too. Like, that's hard to bury.
Yeah, that's not a quick endeavor. That would take years.
Yeah, well, also, why would you want to bury it? You just built it. Like,
Yeah, how much action did this see before they were? It's like spent last hundreds of years building it, and then they had it open for, I don't know, a couple weeks.
yeah, what if they used it
like,
like
all right,
twice?
fill it up.
And they're like, this site sucks. Craftsmanship's horrible. Just bury the whole thing.
That's when they decided, you know what? I don't like this settling thing. Let's go back to being nomads, and they just. But why would you bury it? Why would you bury it?
What happened?
They're hiding something. I
Coming-
know they're hiding something.
Coming from a client-facing past in my jobs, working with customers, there was probably a customer that commissioned it to be built. And then as soon as they finished, they're like, yeah, that's not what I paid for. You guys suck. Bury it, start over. And so that's why they found 12 different sites, because they had to start over 12 times. No, I mean, it could be, like, if it was something dark, like a skull cult or something like that, then maybe they had to bury it to contain whatever dark energy was there, or like,
Yeah.
hey, we're done with this site. The tradition is to bury it.
Yeah, so
Seal it
I
off.
think those are the main theories. Are A, they're done with it, and it's to signify. It's like some, it's got meaning to it that they bury it to show that they're done and moving on. B, they're hiding something. I think that's the fan favorite, right, Austin?
Oh, yeah.
Good. And C is, I guess C kind of loops back to A little bit, but it has to do with the skull cult and them, like, maybe renouncing their ways and, like, they're kind of covering up their past. That's my thought.
Yeah, I like that thought. I also like the thought of preservation. Did you mention that?
I did not mention D, preservation.
D. Yeah, so this is especially compelling if you think of the vulture stone being like a prophecy, or like, oh shoot, what if they built it knowing that this meteor shower happened in the past and caused the Younger Dryas, and then they see meteors again every year and they're like, it's going to happen again. And so they are like, we have to preserve this site for future generations to find. Because I'm guessing that the people that emerged after the Younger Dryas probably found some trace of the people before them, and so they wanted to leave a trace of their civilization for future generations to find. It's like, I just learned that when we built the Hoover Dam, we had a massive etching of the sky chart, like the night sky etched into the floor, the star map.
Really?
So that, like, if it was ever found in the future, they want basically a timestamp of when it was built.
Oh.
And so I'm
Very
like, we still do
interesting.
things like that, to
For
like
hundreds
show
of years from now.
And so maybe they were just trying to preserve it for future generations to find and have their knowledge. Maybe they thought like, oh, this is a site where.
It's just weird to bury it, though.
Yeah.
It's so weird. I guess if you intentionally wanted to create something that would stay.
Yeah. So Well, they say that they can tell by the rubble, right, that it was buried.
Yeah.
Why don't you go outside right now and dig a hole? You know what you're going to find? You're going to find some rubble in that hole.
Yeah.
So how can they tell that the rubble in that hole is different from the rubble anywhere else?
I think it's because it would be like, if it was natural, it would be big stuff at the bottom, little stuff at the top, but they're seeing medium stuff, big, little, medium, all the way through.
Okay,
As if it was
yeah.
placed there.
That's valid.
That's how I understood it. I could be completely
The
wrong.
stratification,
Yeah.
stratigraphy, is that the word?
Stratigraphy.
So yeah, that would make sense if they can tell by the placement of like the type of material that's
People
placed throughout.
smarter than me figured it out.
You know what? We should have Graham Hancock on the podcast.
I think you would love to be on here.
Yeah. I'm gonna reach out to him actually.
Do it. Tweet him or Z'd him, whatever it's called now.
X
X him.
X him. That sounds bad.
What a stupid.
No
name
one
change.
calls it X, dude. I hate it. I hate that it's
It's
X.
Twitter.
It's Twitter. Yeah. It will always be Twitter. You can't. Oh, I'm gonna go make an X about this. No, I'm gonna tweet about it.
Tweet. Yeah, it just works so perfectly.
It's so much more fun to tweet. Oh, there was one other thing I wanted to say that was crazy. So in Karahan Tepe, I just learned this today. They found, so that was dug out of the freaking bedrock, right? Like they went
Okay.
down into the bedrock and
For
dug
that
a lot
one
of those
specifically?
structures out. A lot of these structures they
Okay.
dig down into the bedrock, which is crazy for the time period because they don't have, at least we don't know about like hydraulic machinery to chip into this bedrock, right? But there was this pillar and like a shrine that was constructed there within one of the circular structures. And there's this statue of a head. You should look it up. So look up Karahan Tepe head statue.
Karahan.
Head statue.
Human statue?
I'll find it.
Is it?
Let me find it. So
Is
it
it
looks.
this guy?
No.
This guy totally has a penis.
Yeah,
They
they all
absolutely
all
carved a
are
penis into
holding
this
their
man.
penises, dude. It's so strange. Every one of these sites has like a depiction of a man holding his phallus.
Yeah, no, like that's crazy.
Let's see.
That is a man's penis.
Okay, look up Karahan Tepe winter solstice. You'll find it
Winter
there.
solstice.
So it's this head right here. That's the picture.
Okay. Yep. I see. Oh. Yep.
So
all right.
if you look at so this picture here, this is a zoomed out image of it, and it shows this circular structure, the same as they have at Göbekli Tepe, right?
Uh-huh.
And it has pillars in there, and then there's this head. What I also find interesting is if you look up Olmec heads. So the Olmecs were people that were in the Americas, I believe kind of down in the Peru area and north. But the Olmec heads look like this. Have you seen those before?
something
Ancient
similar,
Olmec
yeah.
statues. That looks kind of similar to me. Like just, I
Yeah,
mean,
a
it's
little
all
bit, yeah.
it's all heads, I guess. But like it looks kind of similar to this one, or kind of like what you'd see on like a totem pole or something. You know?
Yeah, yeah. It's very square.
Yeah. So what's interesting about this is there is a stone in this circle, like a pillar that has a hole through it, and they call it the porthole pillar or the porthole stone. And on the winter solstice exactly, the sunlight travels perfectly through that hole to light the face on the statue.
Oh, really?
And so throughout the winter solstice, throughout that day, when like it's the peak of the winter solstice, the light travels all the way around the head and then like fully illuminates it. It's really strange, but they just
That is
recently
weird.
discovered that only on that day does it do that. And so you can see there's a video that actually shows a depiction of it, but you can see right here, they make it look like a laser beam, like they show the
Yeah,
depiction of the
yeah.
light passing through, but it only happens on the winter solstice. So what that shows to me is that these guys had a very good understanding of
Like a
the
calendar
stars
system.
and the calendar system and like astronomy.
That's
like
crazy.
solar astronomy to map that out and do that. It also is similar to like if you've heard of the pyramids in Mexico where they have the structure, like a snake structure, where on a certain day the shadow of the snake structure like slithers up the stairs with the sunlight or something.
I have seen that, I think.
Just like the craziest things that I wouldn't be able to do that today, you know?
Oh, yeah. No, I have no idea.
And so it just shows some type of advanced knowledge of the stars and the sun that we don't have, I don't think, today.
Yeah, well, not in the same way anyway.
But I thought that was pretty mind-blowing that
That
they
is
calculated that to
crazy.
the winter solstice perfectly. This is a fun topic. I love talking about this kind of stuff, and I'm sure we're not going to be done talking about it because they're still discovering these sites in Turkey. But if you want to fund our trip and live podcast at Göbekli Tepe, please donate to the Do Fund.
That'll take a while.
It will. Last time I checked, flights were like $5,000. And it was a 36-hour trip to get there.
That sounds horrible.
That's like a full week.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
We'll just head to Turkey. On the way back, we'll head to Egypt. I guess, yeah, we'll head over to Egypt. We'll head over to Rome, check out Rome, and then we'll come home.
That's all?
That's it. Yeah, just,
That's
you know.
sounds good to me.
Once we get over there, the travel's cheap. It's just getting there.
I hope so.
We'll eat some good food. What do you think Turkish food is like? Do they eat turkey in Turkey?
If they don't, they're missing out on a really big marketing opportunity. Well, thank you all for listening so very much. Austin, do you have anything you want to say?
Well, welcome back, everybody. We're glad to be with you again. Let us know what topics you want to hear. We will be bringing back all the classics, American Urban Legends. We need to keep the Cryptid Cage match going. We'll have, typical ghost stories and stuff coming up too. But if you have stories you want us to share, or you want to come tell your story, or there's a topic you want us to cover, reach out and let us know. We'll have the email and social media posted in the notes. And thank you for your support.
Thank you very much. We're aiming for an every other week release. Might be more, might be less, but that's going to be your average. We appreciate each and every one of you, and have yourselves a stupendous day.
Bye-bye.